Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to Grandstand Gurus with your top-notch mate, Ciaran Marchant. How are we doing, chaps? Yes, you are correct. Jack Kruse is out with an injury. He has fractured his left minor pinky muscle.
Harsh. It could be out for a couple of weeks.
Could be out for a couple of weeks with that, and we don't know. We do not know. We will keep you updated with news on Jack's severe injury and keep you up to date. But that voice you heard before, I am joined by the muscular maestro, Ashley Hobley.
How you going, Ciaran? How's it feel to be in the big boy chair?
Look, it's good. I've stolen. This is my second podcast big boy chair I've stolen, so it's so much fun. Whee! Okay, so it's just me and Ash this week.
Yeah.
So strap in, and we're gonna have a lot of fun. There's a lot of stuff planned for today's show because I went nuts. I went all the nuts. Like Ashley, if you like to get any swearing out now, just go full tilt. No, we're gonna keep it good. We're gonna keep it good. Okay, we're gonna be good.
I've got to edit it.
You've got to edit it. That's right. All right, I'll keep it good for you. Right. So, Ashley Hobley, what was your sporting highlight of last week?
There wasn't many highlights this last week. It was pretty rough.
There was like no sport.
Pretty much, there was no sport, and then all the Australian teams were not getting any good results at all. The Socceroos lost. The Australian cricket team lost. No luck in the US Open for many of the Australians, but I have to go to the Brisbane Broncos. They won their final regular season game against the Cowboys, but even that was tinged with a bit of sadness because Darius Boyd, the fullback and captain, injured himself just before halftime, so throws their finals campaign in disarray. So
it does indeed. It does indeed. I know I'm not all doom and gloom. There was no AFL. Every other, as Ashley said, the Australian football team was, or all Australian teams, not the Australian football team, was saying, well, they kind of is. Socceroos are playing Thailand at the minute.
Yeah.
Yeah, Tim Cahill's
There's still hope.
There's still hope. You can do it, boys. My highlight for last week was the EJ Witten game. More specifically, Jonathan Brown in that game was fantastic. Get that boy another year contract and just get him.
He's recovered from that concussion. Now he can play. The Lions should snap him back up. Number one in the draft.
He took a body slam in that game. He kicked some fantastic torpedoes. The end of the game goal was ridiculous. The angle he had to kick that on, he couldn't even take it for a run to widen the angle because it would have been counted as play on.
Yeah.
Was intense. But it was a very fun game, and it was lots of good things happened for AFL and for the EJ Witten charity, which I cannot remember the name of. Maybe it's just called EJ Witten.
I think, yeah. I don't know.
But it's good. But good for them.
Do you like the bye round? The second year?
Just as a... I think so. I think I like the bye round.
I guess you'll see once the teams come out.
I'd like to see this year. There's a lot of speculation after last year with, Clarko coming out and say, hey, it kind of lessens the upside of being top four. But at the same time, I don't think it's that bad. I think it makes this finals more interesting because I think previously, before the bye, the chances of somebody going to the grand final and winning from fifth on below was non-existent. So I think it was good. I'd like to see it this year. If this year, and I don't even think this year's a good barometer, just because if anybody, which we'll talk about a bit later, if everybody's going to come up from the 5 below, it's going to be Sydney, and Sydney's going to win it all if they do.
Yeah,
is the only thing I can see, and if that does happen, I don't think anybody can use that as a barometer to say the bye rounds was the problem, because before the season started, Sydney were the hot-on favourites.
Yeah,
and then they went 0-6.
Terrible start to the season.
At the start of the season, and then since then, the only team, I think it's the only team that's beat them since then was Hawthorn twice. They had a massive roll. So I'm really looking forward to it. But we'll talk more about the AFL and NRL finals very soon. But what are your feelings on the bye round, Ash?
I mean, you want to have the best players available for the finals, so I guess it makes sense to give them a week off to get themselves ready. But on the other hand, it's all about momentum in a lot of sport. So it's really tough to say whether this is a good thing or not.
I guess the problem that sparked it as well, not to talk about this for too long, but the problem that sparked it as well was that year...
They were resting players
that year.
There
was that game, it was like North Melbourne rested...
Half.
A good half of their top 22, and that's ridiculous. So screw you, Kangaroos. You just ruined it for everybody, didn't you?
And look where we are now. But even though there was no official AFL over the weekend, except for, did you watch the women's State of Origin? I couldn't watch it. Glad I wasn't able to watch it because it was very one-sided.
The Victorians, man. You were on record last week to say All Stars have got this. They've got the Adelaide girls. They're going to tear it up. And
yeah, I guess it goes to show that maybe the Victorian teams have spread the Victorian players out a bit too much. There's a really solid base, but yeah, they've been spread out maybe a bit too much amongst all the Victorian teams.
Yeah, and I'm really interested there is up and coming, still in discussion about expanding the women's league for the AFL to include teams such as the Box Hill Hawks women's side and stuff. So I'm looking forward to hear more about that, because then I'll have a Hawthorn team to cheer for. Yeah.
Another 10 rounds add to the season.
Yeah, exactly. Even though I probably won't watch it, but at least give me somebody to cheer for if there is one.
Yeah.
Moving on through, as I've said, there is, even though there wasn't any major AFL games being played on, there was some big news over the week. And I picked out two stories that I want to go over. One story almost broke my heart. The other story was a bit predictable.
Yeah.
So the first I want to go in with Dusty Martin. Dusty Martin last week came out finally on an interview on the Footy Show and said he's re-signed for, I think it was 6 years with
It was Richmond. A lot of years.
It was a lot of years. It was either 6 or 8. Signed with Richmond on less money that he was offered for the North Melbourne deal.
Yeah.
But he took it because his loyalty to the club. And as direct quote was him, it felt like he was cheating on a girlfriend when he went and spoke to North Melbourne players and coaches. So
yeah.
What do you think of this? Because for me, it was a really big circus. It was such a big circus, and the moment I heard that he was making an announcement on Thursday night, it was kind of all said and done. Because there was two options. There was two things that was going to happen, one more likely than the other. Either he was going to say, hey, re-sign with Richmond, which was the most obvious one, because why the hell would he go out before finals and then say that he's
signing for another club?
Because that ruins your club's momentum a little bit and is a negative impact on that. And spirit, that's the word I was looking for. But also, the other option would have been he would have said, oh, I'm not making my decision yet, wait till the end of the year. And if he said that, it would have been super obvious that he was most likely moving. Yeah. So, what did you think of that whole situation?
I think it was pretty clear for a while he's going to stay at Richmond. I mean, Richmond has really turned the corner. They're going to be a powerhouse for the next couple of seasons, I think. They've got a pretty solid lineup. And, I don't know why he would want to move. I mean, he's a star at that side. Why would you want to go to North Melbourne? Obviously, the money is a huge factor, but to be a part of that team, and I think there's still a massive draw for AFL players to be a one-team player. To be
definitely.
So.
Even with that, like maybe he just had enough. He's got enough neck tattoos. He didn't need any more money to spend on neck tattoos. So
well, you've only got so much neck.
You do.
Unless you are put on the pounds, then you get a bit more neck.
A couple extra chins just to tat. I will appreciate Dusty. I'll give him points for sticking with Richmond, but there was the biggest part of me that just wanted to see him leave and just laugh at Richmond because they're Richmond. Just because they're Richmond. And then the other story. I'd like to take you on an adventure with me.
Yeah. Okay, go ahead.
Yesterday morning I woke up. Monday morning I woke up. Spoilers, we recorded this on Tuesday. I woke up. I'm going to say it was like 9 o'clock. I woke up, not working at the moment, just has a week off, so I was relaxed. I was pepped for my week. And then, in a Facebook chat that we're all a part of, Jack Kruse messages me and says, Ciaran, Luke Hodge, Gold Coast. And I went, wait, what? Oh, Luke Hodge is possibly going to play with Gold Coast like Sam Mitchell did, like a good Sam Mitchell deal. I'm like, You're kidding me. So if you hadn't heard, Luke Hodge over the week had been supposedly had the CEO, Sun CEO Mark Evans, having a bit of a chat to him, and apparently offered him a deal to say, hey, come play for us for a year, and then after that move into a coaching position. It almost broke my heart. As a Hawthorn supporter, it was very much a, wait, what? He's going to do this after having such a great retirement, such a fantastic send-off, and it was one of the biggest stories at the end of the AFL season other than finals, and you're going to do this? What did you think of it at first, Ash?
I thought it was pretty funny, to be honest.
I actually hate you.
You should look up Kruse_mate. He got one of the guys to mock up a Luke Hodge, Gold Coast Suns jersey.
Yeah, thanks, Jack. I wonder why you're not here today.
Yeah.
I wonder why, Jack.
all the Hawthorn supporters were sending him hate mail.
Do it again, Jack. I dare you. But
yeah,
thankfully,
I don't know how realistic it is. I mean, it's a smart move by the Suns. I mean, to get a player like Luke Hodge to maybe mentor for some of those young guys for a season.
It's such a slap in the face, though.
But yeah,
it's such a slap in the face.
It's a question about legacy. What do you want to, how you want to end everything? So,
as I said a couple of times, don't Ric Flair it. Do not Ric Flair it. If you don't know what I mean by that view, and you're not a fan of wrestling, we're talking about wrestling. It's my one rule I'm going to break. Wrestling, Ric Flair, I can't remember which WrestleMania. I have a feeling it was 24, but I don't want to say.
I think it was 24 or 25.
24, somewhere around there.
Yeah.
Ric Flair had his final match against Shawn Michaels in WWE. And it was such a beautiful send-off. It was so good. The match was a fantastic match. He got to have a send-off match with Shawn. And it was such a beautiful ending. And then he went and signed with TNA and had this monster year of disgustingness at TNA. And it put a bad taste in everybody's mouth because this person that they thought they'd said goodbye had then gone and wrestled for the opposition, kind of, and made some really terrible decisions. So that all happened, but thankfully, before I could start, tearing up and burning my Luke Hodge jersey, he then came out on a podcast, I believe it was. I'm just trying to find a Better on Paper podcast with David Zeta, shout out to them, and said he had no idea what anybody else was talking about. He had no clue. He said he woke up the morning and had about 15 text messages saying WTF or what's going on, and he had no idea. It was the first he'd heard of it, which you can't. I'm gonna have a bit of faith that that's the truth. Luke said the only times he'd really even spoke to Chris was Mark Evans was just for his 300th game and at the end of the footy career, because apparently Mark had a big role to play in Hodge's career, which is fair enough, and it's probably the main reason why this rumour had legs to stand on at first. So
you're pretty sure it's not going to happen?
Oh, look, it's like just to upon wrestling again, it's like a really bad face turn if it happens. Like he's going to smack he's heel turn. Sorry, he's going to smack the fans with a steel chair. It's just disappointing. But
could you imagine Luke Hodge, Gary Ablett, same team?
No, because there's no way Ablett's playing for them next year.
You think?
There's no way Ablett plays.
Do you think he retires, or do you think he's going to get to Geelong?
I don't think he's going to Geelong either. Well, he can attempt to go to Geelong. I do not think Geelong wants... Gold Coast is going to play hardball to get for the trade. They're going to want something really good. And with how Geelong's in a rebuild pretty much at the minute, or they're in the current position of not a rebuild, but they're
in third position on the ladder.
They're in a third position, but I was watching a game from they were second.
Yep, they're in a rebuild.
I was watching a game from 2014, and their team in 2014 and their team now is completely different.
Yeah.
So they're not a rebuild's probably the wrong, but they are in a bit of a change period for them. A flux, yes. And I don't think they want Gary Ablett there.
No?
I don't think so. It's not worth it for a season. It's going to be one season. It's wishful thinking, and I hope all the best for him. It would be a good storyline finisher for him to prodigal son it and return home, even though it's kind of like, mate, you left for the money. You left for the money of Gold Coast, so... yeah,
I don't know.
I don't think
that sort of thing isn't unheard of in the NRL. Petro Simonaseva was sort of pushed out of the Broncos and went to the Panthers.
Yeah.
Had a few years there, ended up captaining that club, and then came back and played his last season at the Broncos. And
I just don't see it in AFL.
Yeah.
I don't know.
No, it's a bit harder because of the transfers, but
the transfer, like the trades they'd have to give, and nah. And I don't think Gary Ablett doesn't want to play there anymore. I don't think he wants to play it. He missed a good maybe 4 matches towards the end of the season.
where he sort of ruled himself out.
Where he ruled himself out and said, I'm not playing, pretty much.
Yeah.
Then he still won the best and fairest for his club.
Yeah.
That's ridiculous. Apparently there was only something like 4 players that played... 3 or 4 players that played 22 games for Gold Coast this season. That's ridiculous. There needs to be some big changes at that club. Or that club's going. But yeah, as far as
Luke Hodge, head coach.
That'd be interesting. Or at least the defensive coach, he'd be fantastic at. But it's just, I don't see Gary Ablett playing there next year. It's either he retires, and I think if he retires this way, it's going to suck because that's such a anticlimactic retirement for such a legendary player. But at the same time, I don't know if Gold Coast is going to get the trade they want for him.
I know. I think maybe he could go around that last year.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. I'll be interested to see. We'll see. Keep that in your mind for next season when we're talking about Gary Ablett playing ridiculously well for Geelong.
On track for the Brownlow.
Imagine that, though. That just makes my heart sink thinking about Dangerfield, Selwood, and Ablett all in the same midfield. Oh, gosh. But moving on, also over the last couple of nights, the AFL Coaches Association announced a couple of their awards.
Yeah.
Dusty Martin was voted their Player of the Season by all the coaches. The votes were ridiculous. I think from like 6th to 3rd was all like a couple votes, and they were all in the 70s. And then it was something like Dangerfield on like 118 votes and Dusty on 122 votes, which you could tell that's probably because Paddy lost that game and didn't play that game. So I mean, it's an interesting one. And then also they also announced the AFL Coaches Association Young Player of the Year to be Clayton Oliver from Melbourne Demons. So they're the Young Player of the Year. For them, the criteria is they could only have played something like 2 years worth of footy. So he was in his 2nd year. So he deserved it. He played really well all season. You'll see how much I think of him later on when I go back into... So, as we are on the cusp of finals.
Yeah.
For both NRL and AFL. We're gonna do some predictions again. We're also going to take a jump back in time first. Back on episode 11 of Grandstand Gurus, Ash, Jack, and myself all tried to predict the AFL ladder for the end of the season. And also in an earlier episode, we tried to predict our Brownlow votes. So I'm just going to have a quick recap of Brownlow winner. So I'm going to have a quick recap. We don't know the Brownlow winner yet, but it's pretty obvious who it's going to be. So... Jack's predictions. Brownlow for Dusty Martin, which pretty much is a guarantee. If anyone else wins it, I'll be very surprised.
Yeah.
And Jack's top 8, starting from the number 8, is Sydney Swans at 8. Western Bulldogs at number 7. 6 was West Coast. 5 was Richmond. 4 was Port Adelaide. 3 was Geelong. 2 was Adelaide. And 1 was GWS.
Yep.
So he had almost all the right teams. It was a bit of wishful thinking once again about Western Bulldogs.
Yeah.
But, you know, it's pretty good. The only team he got wrong was the Western Bulldogs. He got the positioning wrong for majority.
But pretty good effort.
It was a good effort. He got most of the team wrong. The only ones he missed was He got doggies wrong, and doggies were replaced by Essendon in that top 8. Then we go to my picks. I did slightly worse because I had more wishful thinking. Brownlow medal, I said Clayton Oliver, and I blew his horn for about 5 minutes, if I remember rightly, for that show.
Yep.
That is clearly not the case of what's going to happen.
Again, not unless some sort of miracle happens.
Not unless some sort of miracle happens and everybody voted Clayton.
And then someone realised that Dusty Martin was got a suspension. Mass gas attack, and everybody forgot.
For my table, I had at 8. I had wishful thinking Hawthorn, which could have been. It was pretty close. It was a pretty good close if we hadn't have lost to Carlton of all teams. Number 7, West Coast. Number 6, Richmond. Number 5, Melbourne. But Melbourne choked.
They fell off a cliff.
Oh, they choked so hard. Why would you lose to Collingwood? Oh, God damn it. 4, I had Port Adelaide. 3, I had Adelaide. 2, I had Geelong. 1, I had GWS. So the ones I got wrong were Hawthorn and Melbourne. I missed Sydney and Essendon. And listening back to that episode, after I said it, I think Jack said his 8, and then I went, oh, I forgot about Sydney.
Yeah.
No, there's no way Sydney's not in the 8. And so that was, I'd like to say I fixed it, but I really didn't.
No.
I talked a lot of crap about Adelaide and said, nah, Adelaide's not going to be on top. Everybody's worked him out. They know they just need to tag Rory Sloane, and they're good. Nope. Adelaide stayed on top. I talked up GWS and said, nah, GWS looks great. They look unstoppable. They've got a few injuries, but they'll get those players back and they'll be great. GWS did not have good form. They managed to stay third, but nobody knows what happens to GWS. And then...
quick thing. Did you hear about the Steve Johnson story? What do you think about that?
I didn't hear...
Apparently, it got leaked to the media that he's getting dropped this week.
I would think he was going to get dropped. I watched the game. I watched the last GWS game, and he did not play very well at all. And their other options are better.
Yeah.
At this point, especially when, as a coach, you've got to look at it from the team's perspective, not just Stevie J.
Yeah.
And look, Stevie J can fight and get back in, I hope. But you've got to do what's right for your team, especially when you're chasing... There's only one other team that's in the same position as GWS. Oh no, there's 2, isn't there? I don't know. One of the teams that is chasing their first premiership, you've got to go with your best chances, and I don't think Stevie J is in their best 22 anymore. I just don't.
No. Yeah.
I hadn't heard that it had been leaked though. That was my gut feeling because there's been a lot of hoo-ah about it over the last week.
Yeah, apparently Kane Corns came out and said, was it Kane?
Idiot.
Yeah.
Idiot. Okay.
But, yeah.
Moving right on to yours, Ashley.
Oh, no.
For once, for your Brownlow vote, you was Mr. Indecisive once again. I think in order you said something like Patrick Dangerfield, Dusty Martin, Joel Selwood. There was another player's name in there, and then you never picked one.
Like to keep my options open.
I think, honestly, members of the audience, if you do not know one Ashley Hobley, which you should, nicest bloke on the internet, follow him at Ashley Hobley, ASHLEYHOBLEY on Twitter. Ashley is Captain Indecisive, as in, he has a treehouse built on the side of the fence. He has a comfy little chair there. He has maybe some magazines to read, a nice cold drinks beverage dispenser. Just, you've got it all set up on that fence, Ash. I'm excited to see the day where you pick a side for once.
We'll see.
We'll see.
Maybe.
So, Ash has got a question mark next to his Brownlow. And then, for your top 8, you have West Coast Eagles as number 8, which is correct. Essendon at number 7, which is correct. I think Sydney at 6. I think Sydney finished at 5th. Let me just double check, because I've got it up here.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure they got 6th.
Sydney at 6th, which was correct. Your only mistake was Western Bulldogs at 5th.
Oh, wasn't that
crazy? And you talked them up so much, my friend.
I said they're going to win 6 of their last 8.
You did indeed. You did. And then they were
and then I broke Jack's heart.
This is look, we're in a safe space now that Jack isn't on this podcast tonight. Western Bulldogs just did not want it this year. I
No.
don't know what's wrong with them.
And they
Bevo,
should have wanted to. They should have wanted to do it for
first
Bob.
time in something like 8 years where the team from the previous premiership hasn't been in the finals.
Last team, Hawthorn.
Hawthorn, yeah. Yeah. 2009.
But that worked out for them, did it?
But signs of good things. Signs of good things if you win. If you go on and win 3 in a row, Western Bulldogs, I'll eat my hat. Now,
What type of hat?
You had number 5 as Western Bulldogs, which was wrong.
Not wrong.
Very wrong. Number 4, you had Port Adelaide. Number 3, you had Geelong. Number 2, you had GWS. Number 1, you had Adelaide. So the only people you got wrong
I missed
was
out
the Doggies.
Richmond.
You talked so much crap about Richmond. You were like, no, they're going out. And no, they stayed in. So
Yeah.
I would like to,
Props.
as the senior vice-chancellor of Grandstand Gurus, I will decree that Ashley is the most successful at predicting the league.
Yeah.
You are most successful at predicting that top 8. Well done, my friend.
Thank you very much.
If you would like to insert or edit in some applause here, go ahead.
I know.
Just know
I'll
a
put
beat
some
drop,
celebration music.
celebratory more music. Just
I'll get that drop
the
from.
beat. Just
I'll edit that drop from last night from this
Just
week's
drop the
Platinum
beat.
Explosion.
If you'd like to see a real drop in the beat, just go check out Platinum Explosion. But we're gonna do something a bit fun. We're gonna carry on this predictions for two things. One's gonna be an absolute mess. The other thing's gonna be pretty good. So between you and me, Ash,
Yep.
I'm gonna ask you. You're gonna go first.
Okay.
We're gonna predict the finals for AFL.
The whole thing, or just this week?
The whole thing.
Okay.
The whole thing. And I've got all the games in front of me. I've got who'll go where. So, the first game, which is happening Thursday night this week, Adelaide versus GWS at Adelaide Oval. Who have you got?
GWS.
GWS to win?
Oh, against Adelaide. I thought it was Port Adelaide. Adelaide's
No.
going to win.
Adelade's going to win?
Yeah.
Okay, Adelaide locked in the final answer, so Adelaide
Yeah.
will go on. GWS will move on to the lower final. Next game from Friday night, which is a sellout at the MCG, we have Geelong and Richmond.
Oof. It's tough.
I think it's the harder of the two top qualifying finals.
I think maybe Richmond.
You're going to put Richmond? Okay,
I'm going to
sure.
predict Richmond.
Then, from the bottom 4, we've got Port Adelaide versus West Coast.
Oof. Port Adelaide, by country
Port,
mile.
yep.
I think that'll be the blowout of the finals.
Yep.
Yeah. West Coast got in by the although they did beat Adelaide last week.
They beat Adelaide at home in the final game at Domain.
Yes.
Yes, we're
I
going to
don't
say it's
know.
Domain. I don't know. We're gurus, we kind of
Yeah.
know things. Moving on, the last game of this weekend: Sydney Swans versus Essendon.
Sydney.
Thank you.
Yeah.
You looked pondering for a second. I was a bit
And then I
confused.
remembered Sydney were playing.
I really hope, because, I think I've mentioned it a couple times, Essendon has frustrated me this season. This is not your comeback story, folks. Sydney, please rip up the story and burn it. Right, moving on to the next week's. The next game would be GWS versus Port Adelaide.
I think GWS win that.
GWS win that?
Yep.
Yep. And then we'd have Sydney versus Geelong.
Oh, God. Where do you think they'd play that?
I don't know. I'm not 100%.
What's the other game?
higher
The other
team-
game would be played in GW. Would be played in Sydney, so they'd probably want to have this game in Melbourne.
Correct. So it would have probably be at the G.
So that gives Sydney more of a chance.
I don't think they'd have a game at the Cattery.
No,
I don't think.
as much as they'd want it to.
As much as they wanted to, I don't think they would. Because if Richmond and Geelong have sold out, I think Geelong and Sydney would have a pretty good chance of selling out as well.
Yeah.
So I think they'd want that in the MCG.
I'll give it to Sydney. I think Sydney will.
You're gonna give it to Sydney? Okay.
Yeah.
And then it would be Sydney versus Adelaide.
In Adelaide.
In Adelaide.
You have to give it to Adelaide.
Have to give it to Adelaide?
And
it would be... who did you say out of... You said GWS. It'd be GWS and...
Richmond. Richmond. Wouldn't that be a great story? Yeah, Richmond.
You're going to say Richmond?
Adelaide, Richmond grand final.
I think it'd be Richmond as well, because I'm agreeing with you so far. So the grand final would be Adelaide versus Richmond.
And then Adelaide win and break Richmond's hearts. That seems like a great way to end the season.
It'd be satisfying. But I have this sneaking feeling that if it's Richmond Adelaide, I would give Richmond a really good chance.
Yeah, well, of course, it'd be home field advantage.
They would have beat Geelong and GWS, which are the two teams that finished higher than them other than Adelaide. Yeah. They would have gone through 1, 2, and 3 if that's the case.
Those are the teams the Bulldogs beat last year?
To
get to the final?
Something like that. Something close.
Yeah.
Something close like that. Also, I'm wrong. GWS is below Richmond, so...
Okay, yeah.
Richmond finished 3rd.
Yes.
So that's what we got, people. Ashley reckons Adelaide would win at the end. I'd reckon Richmond would win at the end, if that was the case. Even though I don't want it to be. Check it out. If you disagree, please tweet at us. Either at ExplosionPod, at your boy Ringo, which is my own Twitter, or at Ashley Hobley. I've spelled it out at least once already, and I'll spell it out again at the end. So, moving forward.
Now we got the NRL finals.
We now have the NRL finals. This is going to be... Ash is going to tell me the teams. I'm going to try to predict.
At least I know a little bit about AFL.
Ash knows things. Ash knows AFL. I have next to zero information about NRL. So, Buddy Watson, start putting your money on whatever I just say, because it's going to be right. And you're going to
put that wedding money on.
Put the wedding money. Just put the whole thing on
all that honeymoon money,
here, buddy. You believe in me. I know you do. So let's go. Okay, Ash.
All right. So Friday night, you've got the Roosters hosting the Broncos.
I'm going to say the Roosters just because the Broncos just lost their captain.
Yeah, that's pretty fair. They've got a makeshift fullback this week, so they could pull a Swiftie and he could recover miraculously, but it's looking unlikely. So Roosters looking like they'll probably win that one. Then Saturday night, first game will be the Storm versus the Eels. Melbourne Storm versus Parramatta Eels.
I'm going to go with Storm just because it's Melbourne Storm.
That's a very good prediction because they're number one. They're having one of the greatest seasons of all time. And
I got my boy on that team, Silly Bater, or Blater, Silly Blater. I believe that's his name.
You're killing buddy.
Buddy. I know. I just dissed your boy Billy Slater, but.
All right.
I can't come off as too smart about this kind of thing.
All right. So the next game will be the Manly Sea Eagles versus the Penrith Panthers.
I'm going to go with Manly just because they've previously been in the NRL finals somewhat recently.
Yeah, they did win the premiership a few years ago, but they haven't been playing. They haven't been as good as that year. But
that's fine because I believe in Manly.
Yeah, out of those two teams, the Panthers have had a bit of a turmoil this week. Their captain looks like he's going to go to another club. So and he's asked for a leave.
It does look like that. This is why I'm saying Manly.
Yeah,
if the captain's jumping off the ship, where's the ship going? Down. It'll probably sink.
Yep. So that's an elimination final. So the Panthers would be out.
The Panthers are out. I'm sorry, Panthers.
All right, and then we have the Cronulla Sharks versus the North Queensland Cowboys.
Cronulla Sharks, North Queensland Cowboys. In my head, a fight between a shark and a cowboy, the cowboy would win. So I'm going with the Cowboys.
Ooh, interesting choice. That's probably the most outlandish one.
Is it? That's fine. That's fine.
Because
it's going to happen, buddy.
Cowboys have just scraped in. They've done the opposite to Melbourne. So They've
Oh,
just
they scraped in? They did
They
a Western?
scraped in. So
Cowboys, just get yourself a Bulldog mascot and you can do it. I believe in you.
Yep. All right. So
Okay.
based
So-
on those, Brisbane would play. Brisbane would play. No, wait. Brisbane would play the Cowboys. I'm pretty sure.
Come on, Ashley. I had a whole system prepared.
Yeah, well, it's not
I
as
could
nicely.
easily tell
Yeah,
the
Brisbane would play the
things.
Cowboys. The Broncos would play the
Brisbane
Cowboys.
play the Cowboys.
Yes.
So out of a Bronco and a Cowboy, who would win? I'm going to say the Broncos. I'm
Yeah,
going to say the Broncos.
it'll be hard to beat Brisbane
The
at home at
fairy tale
Suncorp.
story will just end. And it's a sad thing. It happens, Cowboys fans, but it's fine. Because you could then support the Broncos to their next defeat.
Okay. And then we'd have the Eels versus the Sea Eagles.
The Eels versus the Sea Eagles. So Manly is the Sea Eagles, correct?
Sea Eagles, yes.
Okay.
Parramatta
and then-
Eels.
The Parramatta Eels. I'm going to shout out to my boys at Manly.
Ooh,
Manly,
okay.
you're going to do it.
You'd get the upset.
You're gonna upset it. I believe in you.
Yeah, well, it could happen. The Eels are a bit hit and
It
miss.
It could indeed. I think it will. Like I'm completely. I believe it.
You've got 100% faith? All right.
I do. I really do have 100% faith when it comes to my Manly Sea Eagles.
All right.
Caw! That's
So-
what they do when they score, right?
No.
Oh.
So the preliminary finals would be the Roosters versus the Sea Eagles.
Roosters and Sea Eagles. Yep.
Yep.
Yep. Yep.
Who are you
so,
picking?
No, sorry, I thought you were carrying on.
No.
Roosters and Sea Eagles. Roosters are lazy. They save all their energy. So I'm going to go with the Roosters.
Yeah.
Sea Eagles are flying over the sea. Roosters are like, what up, man?
The Roosters have probably been the quiet achievers of this season, and they've somehow managed to
They haven't
end
crowed,
up second.
They're not doing their job very well. Then how do people know when to wake up if there's no roosters roostering? How NRL, man? You guys need to sort your stuff out, please.
Okay. And then we'd have this blockbuster Storm versus the Broncos.
Oh, that blockbuster Storm versus the Broncos. Well, sorry, but the Broncos have been down a long. They've fought Manly. No, they didn't fight Manly. I don't know who they fought. They fought somebody previously. They fought a Cowboy and they won. But during that fight with a Cowboy, they have not set up the appropriate plans for a major storm to happen in their city. So Melbourne Storm's going to win. And then the Australian government is going to, need to do something about the Brisbane storm warnings. Because there's a hurricane coming through.
You should just see my face. It's just disappointed. Very disappointed. Although there was a great NRMA ad back in the day about Storm players.
Oh, really?
I'll have to show it to you later.
You will do indeed. Do it.
Yep. So then the grand final would be the Roosters versus the Storm. 1 versus 2.
The Roosters have been flying so far. They have been flying. They're flying through the blue skies. They beat the Sea Eagles. They fly into better pastures. And oh no, there's a storm! There's a storm! The Roosters are down. Melbourne Storm for the win.
Yeah.
Let's go, boys.
Picking the favourites, Ciaran.
My boys.
Yeah.
Silly Blater. He's going to carry them to victory. Silly Blater is going to score 3.5 tries in that grand final.
3.5 tries. That'd be
3.5 tries in that grand final. Shout out to Silly Blater. What a guy.
It could happen. There could be simultaneous grounding between two players.
Exactly. Exactly, Silly Blater. You've heard it here first. You want to be a millionaire? Follow. I'm not going to do it because that's a bit unfair. A mystic can never bet on their own powers because Back to the Future happens. Somebody goes back with a sports anthology thing, and we just ruin the time continuum. And your manager Biff rules the world.
Nobody wants to have Biff ruling the world.
Nobody wants to have Biff rule in the world. So, those are my NRL predictions.
Oh, God.
Buddy, if you need to seek help, it's okay. Ashley's just on the end of a phone call. He can talk you through your situation.
I don't think I can talk him through listening to that again.
I can see the headlines now. Guru Kid calls the entire finals perfectly. Freak storm in the middle of the grand final.
3.5 try hero.
3.5 tries by Silly Blater.
Cooper Cronk. Oh, you can't do it with that name.
No, you can't. It's all Silly Blater.
All right.
Silly Blater. Well done.
Thank you.
Well done, Ash.
Yeah.
You did really well in the AFL. I'm sorry you had to be compared to me with my amazing predictions.
Yeah.
I am.
I'll live with it, Ciaran.
You'll live with it.
I'll survive.
You will survive, and I believe in you.
Thank you.
Moving right along, so Ashley does not have to worry about that again. Recently, throwing in a bit of game news here as well as the sports news. Madden 18 came out on the video gaming consoles, and it has its first story mode called Longshot. This is the story of one Dwight Wade. Was that his name? Dwayne Wade? Not Dwayne Wade, because that's a real person.
Devin Wade.
Devin Wade. It's the story of a character named Devin Wade and his journey to being drafted into the NFL as a long shot. I had the pleasure of witnessing Ashley play through this mode. And this mode really shows some of the drafting mechanics or systems within AFL, which I have no knowledge of. Pardon?
NFL. You said AFL.
NFL. Oh, AFL. I do know AFL. NFL. I don't know anything about it, and it was interesting.
I will say this isn't a very realistic interpretation. Obviously,
no, there was if you saw the AFL's version, like the Recruit, there was a Recruit about AFL and soccer in Australia. There was a version of that in this thing. So AFL has a very direct way of getting drafted. A very direct way. Sometimes I say it's a bit too.
You get drafted.
You get drafted. It happens. Actually, for what is this? The NFL draft was very weird. There was combines. There was this random show. Do you know? Firstly, do you know what the main process is for NFL drafting?
I assume it's you go to college and then you nominate for the draft. That seems to be
you go to college and you nominate for the draft.
Yeah, that seems. Nick, Brendan, we're very sorry.
Say for this, watching this progress, and it was very dramatized, and is it smart for players? And I'm linking this back to the Recruit. For both I don't know about the soccer one. I watched the soccer one. I just don't know how that ended. And the AFL ones. I think there's been 2 AFL.
Yeah, there was 2 seasons.
How do you think? Is it a smart move for a player to go through that system to get into the sport of their choosing?
I mean, if they didn't make it the first time, I mean, it makes sense to try and get through any opportunity you can get to the highest level. You've got to take, really.
Okay.
I mean, obviously there was a bit more social media spotlight on this player character in this game, but it doesn't seem like it's been a very successful route, though. I mean, I think people get drafted for a reason and people don't get drafted for a reason, unfortunately. Although saying that, this past week, Dane Zorko won his third best and fairest, and he didn't get his start in the AFL till he was like 23. So
yeah, that's true.
He was playing in the state leagues and finally got a chance. And there's probably heaps of other stories like that. So,
which is very true. I think one of my favourites is McDonald Tipping Woody from Essendon.
Yeah.
Who, if it hadn't been for... It was probably like the only silver lining out of the whole scandal for Essendon was McDonald Tipping Woody and I think Darcy Parish as well. Because...
Well, he got drafted, but...
Darcy Parish got drafted, but he got play time.
Yeah, that's true.
Because of it. So, it was an interesting thing to see him get his chance because of that issue. He was like one of their extra recruits, I guess. I can't remember the exact word for it. But that helped. But my problem is with these recruits through like the TV shows, you could never think that. I guess in the show Long Shot, in the end, it still ended up with him getting drafted.
Sort of. Spoilers. Sorry if you're gonna play it.
Yeah. It resulted in him getting to the destination that he was sort of after, with a choice he had to make.
Mm.
But in the recruit and in those types of TV shows, they generally just get, I think the AFL recruit ends with just like a mini draft where one of the clubs pretty much hands him a contract. Like I think he goes down to a couple clubs and he gets handed a contract and he comes straight in. They don't have to do the same kind of things as normal.
In this, they were preparing him for the draft, whereas the recruit they've got a guaranteed contract at the end of the thing.
Yeah, which I think is a bit of an issue because many of the, I don't think it never seems to come off as good relationship building for future teammates if you were that guy that came out of a TV show.
Yeah,
it never comes off,
especially when you haven't done anything and you're competing in a team for spots with people who have
done and worked their asses off.
Yeah.
I think the only one that I'm super impressed with, the only reality show to do with the sport that's super impressive for me, I don't know if you've ever seen, Ash, it's the Ultimate Fighter for UFC. And that's because at the end of the day, they are fighting to get to the UFC still. They do have to do real fights. They're not doing just crappy challenges. It's literally... You have to win so many fights to get your contract.
Well, it's like a mini tournament each season.
Yeah, it is. So. You just get to... And it has produced some fantastic talents. Kelvin Gastelum, who's currently vying... I think he's in welterweight at the minute, but he might have gone up to middleweight recently. He was a previous Ultimate Fighter contender. There is a myriad... Matt Serra, who beat GSP. He was a previous winner, and he was a bit different because he got an immediate title fight from winning that, and then he won the title fight, which was crazy. Which nobody expected in a million years. So it always intrigues me, and that was the biggest intriguing part of that story you played through, was how the method for those boys trying to get drafted. I know there was some more back to, like, politics of the kid was, he hadn't played for so many years and he was getting back into it.
Yep.
Blah blah blah, but it's an interesting way, and it's another one. It's these. It always makes me wonder how that. I always understand these kind of story modes. Like NBA 2K's had these for a couple of years now. FIFA's had one last year. This has now got one. FIFA's got another one coming out now. Do you think these are reasonably portrayed versions of how people make it? I know it's been dramatized a bit, but is there something you can take from it as, say, an up-and-coming kid that wants to make it, or to get some kind of understanding on the systems that come through? Because I know you've at least played FIFA and you've played the Recruit.
No, there's no more than you would get from watching a show based on a sport like Friday Night Lights or a documentary or something, but...
Yep, fair enough.
Yeah. No special insight or anything.
Yeah. Okay.
But
please,
it's fun to play through and wish fulfillment, pretty much. So
wish fulfillment. Okay, it's understandable. I know I used to get that feeling when I used to make a little Ciaran in FIFA and just be like, "Hey, I'm the best striker for Chelsea." Yay!
That's totally realistic.
That's totally gonna happen. And Ciaran walks out there and trips over a football.
Did you have to spell it K so they could say your name properly?
No, I just never had my name said.
Okay.
That was the most frustrating thing. Richard, no, because you used to have like a nickname, so I think I always used to pick like Ace or something.
Yeah.
Cool. Being like I wish I picked Maverick, which is why I'm always jealous of Mav Weller for the St Kilda. So his name being Maverick is awesome. But as we dive into the end of the show, Ashley, take it away with Flog of the Week.
Flog of the Week.
Flog of the Week. Who is the Flog of the Week? I'm going to have a special entry here. I'm going to go rogue on this one.
Yeah.
My Flog of the Week, Jack Kruse of the Grandstand Gurus. For MIAing the podcast. And for allowing
He
me...
broke his middle pinky finger.
His middle pinky finger. You could still podcast with a middle pinky finger break. You could still do it. I know that. Now, he's left me to try and predict NRL.
Yeah,
what kind of crazy guy is that? Me predicting NRL. Ugh. So, he's my flog of the week, Jack Kruse.
Yeah, he's up there.
Get
So, we've got quite a number of flogs this week. Didn't you have another one? Another one you wanted to...
Oh, I do, but yeah, okay. Also, flog of the week part dos. Yeah, that's two. Is one wrestler named Baron Corbin, who had the world on his shoulders a couple weeks ago, and then got into backstage politics, and soon lost, like, everything. Like, he was Mr. Money in the Bank, he was almost guaranteed to be a world champion.
Nope.
And backstage politics, and then he got John Cena'd. Baron Corbin, your hairline and you were a flog.
Alright, so some more realistic flogs of the week. We have...
Wow, both of mine were totally realistic.
Okay, one of them. Jack is very realistic.
Jack was very Alright.
We got Ciaran Pollard this week. So in the Caribbean Premier League, fellow West Indian Evan Lewis was on track to score a century in a 2020 match.
Okay.
Scored 97 off 32 balls. They needed one more run off the last ball, or one more run to get the victory. And instead of giving him an opportunity to score that century, he bowled a no ball and like bounced it really low, so he couldn't even get a swing at it and like finish the game out. So there was no chance. He had no opportunity to try and get that century, and he sort of just gave the game away. So Ciaran Pollard, flog of the week nomination. Another nomination, Fabio Fognini. Yeah, in the US Open, he got kicked out of the US Open for shouting obscenities at a female official.
Okay, so, good on you. Good on you, Floggo.
Yeah, it was pretty bad what he said. Jack has a couple of nominations. Nick Kyrgios, obviously, for being Nick Kyrgios this week. And the Australian cricket team for being a bad Australian cricket team this week. I think a bit harsh, but...
Ashley is not wholeheartedly calling them a flog of the week.
No.
In Ashley's heart, Australian cricket team, you are...
No.
Winners.
You've got a chance to redeem yourself. And the Welsh club Carew is also up for flog of the week nominations this week. They were playing... So they had to not lose by a bonus point in their last round. So in order to ensure they didn't lose by a bonus point, they declared at like 1 for 18. So they declared 2.3 overs into the match. So there was no way they were going to lose by a bonus point. So they pretty much guaranteed they would win. So that's pretty poor sportsmanship. So definitely a flog of the week nomination. No. So Ciaran, do you want to, after hearing all those, who would you say is this week's flog of the week?
Through deductive thinking, so all right, Nick Kyrgios, I've got a little hope for him, so he doesn't get to be flogged. Just yet. I'm sure Jack will put him back on like 10 more times.
Yeah, I'm sure. The year is long.
The year is... We've still got plenty of time. Jack will make sure he gets on this list. Ciaran... The other Ciaran gets immunity just because of his name. Complete immunity right there. You're spelling it wrong, mate. But I forgive you. Your parents don't understand, clearly. He's got immunity. I'm going to give it to Fabio.
Yeah.
Fabio.
It was also pretty poor because he got kicked out and he's left his doubles partner stranded.
Oh, really?
In the draw, yeah. So
did the partner at least get to play with two rackets?
No, he didn't get to go with two rackets and he didn't get a WWE style surprise tag team partner.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That'd be so great. Imagine that, like just freaking like
someone's music hits.
Somebody's music hits and it's just like stone cold, like the glass breaks and, and he's like just chugging beers as he gets thrown a tennis racket. Imagine, US Open, you're doing it wrong. You're doing it so wrong.
Yeah.
But
well, that's tennis for you.
Fabio. Sorry.
Why would you
whisper his name each time I say it.
See, the US Open is censored just like the Grandstand Gurus.
Which we have been so good about this. I'm fantastic. Yeah. I'm proud of you. Give yourself a pat on the back. I'll give me a pat on the back. Good job. But Fabio, you are our flog of the week. Leading into the home stretch, Ashley Hobley. What are you looking forward to this week in sport?
I'm looking forward to the Broncos versus the Roosters. No, yeah, Broncos versus Roosters match. But yeah, a bit nervous about it. I don't have high hopes, but you never know.
Roosters, they can fly against Broncos.
They can fly. I guess we're going to play the
Broncos
Cowboys
can't
next
reach
week.
them. Can't reach them. That's fine.
Yeah.
You know what I'm excited for?
What are you excited for, Ciaran?
I'm excited for a hurricane coming through and the Melbourne Storm to win whatever game they're playing in. But
I guess it doesn't matter who they're playing.
No, because it's a hurricane. Nobody can beat a hurricane. It's ridiculous. Not even Donald Trump can beat a hurricane. We've seen it. We've seen it, man.
Yep.
But really, I'm looking forward to Geelong Richmond. I'm really looking forward to that game.
It's going to be a blockbuster.
It's going to be fantastic. Sellout crowd at the MCG. It's going to be fantastic. Good luck to both teams.
Dangerfield versus Martin.
Pardon?
Dangerfield versus Martin.
Yeah. I hope Dusty, you know what the interesting thing... Sorry. I saw on AFL 360 yesterday. The list of possible players that could miss the rest of the finals if they get one report is ridiculous.
Yeah.
Like, Dusty could miss the rest of the finals if he gets reported. Buddy Franklin could miss the rest of the finals if he gets reported. I think Cochin was on that list. There was a long list of players that all were literally just one bad move out and they would get
3-4 weeks or something.
3-4 weeks because of it. So
jeez.
Yeah, bad luck.
Better play nice.
Better play nice, Dusty.
Just don't tackle.
Don't. Well, he's kind of good at it, so But yeah, I'm looking forward to that game. That game's fantastic. Yes, you. Congratulations for making it all the way through this episode of Grandstand Gurus. I have been your host, Ciaran Marchant, joined by Ashley Hobley. Hopefully next week, Jack Kruse's little finger is holding up, and he can feel the need to podcast again.
So he can hold that mic properly.
Yeah, he can hold the mic and then drop it if he needs to, because that's apparently badass. We have been the Grandstand Gurus. Check out our further podcasts over at the Explosion Network at explosionnetwork.com or bit.ly/Explosion Network to go to our YouTube channel to see everything we do. Remember, always and forever, check out Ashley Hobley on Twitter at ASHLEYHOBLEY. Check me out at your boy Ringo and go shout out at Jack Kruse at Kruse_mate. Say, hey mate, how's your little finger doing? Always remember, good luck this week if your teams are playing some kind of finals. And keep on grandstanding. Ba-ba-da-ba. Ba-ba-da-ba.
Friendly neighbourhood ad read Dylan here. On November 4th, the Explosion Network will be taking part in Extra Life, playing and streaming 24 hours of games to raise money for the Sick Kids International Hospital in Toronto. The crew will be together under one roof doing ridiculous challenges each time we hit a fundraising milestone, and it's all for the kids. So come help out. Head over to explosionnetwork.com/extralife for all the details, times, and suggest any challenges, goals, or games you'd like to see us play. Watch our Extra Life video. It's up on YouTube, Twitter, Facebook. Share it on your own social media. Don't forget to hit that like button and get the word around so we can help raise some good dollars and see us do some ridiculous stuff. Don't forget our weekly podcasts. Pleasure Explosion on Monday, Platinum Explosion on Tuesdays, and Grandstand Gurus goes up every Thursday, and they all go live at 12 p.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time. Plat plat.
Ba-ba-da-ba. Ba-ba-da-ba.
You can't see me.
Ba-ba-da-ba.
You can't see Jack.
You can't see Jack. That's it. Jack's dropping the mic and then glass break. Wah, 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 wah. Okay, we're done.